Good day, action figure plus fans. This is the General coming back at you with a bit of a surprise. You know, we always like to bring something that you may not have seen. Maybe you've seen it, but maybe you haven't seen it too many times. Here it is, Star Trek Playmates, the movie collection, USS Excelsior, NCC 2000, from the debuting, of course, from the awesome movie Star Trek 3 and onward, and has since become a legendary vehicle, the USS Excelsior. And what can I say? You didn't see this piece too often in the Playmates line, and if you did, you had to definitely snatch it up because, in a Playmates line, sort of flooded with the Enterprise, the Klingon attack cruiser, the Romulan warbirds, and things like that. Eventually, and several other vessels. Eventually, they did the USS Excelsior, which is pretty awesome. I wish I could say that the batteries are working right now. General has to do a little bit of tweaks to this one, but we have it and have it with the box, and it looks great. It's one of my favorite pieces, I would say, amongst others. So I would say that this is pretty much just show and tell, and hey, look at this, because I just love this piece. I love the Excelsior. I've loved it since it debuted. And of course, to the viewers out there that maybe not so inside the Trek universe of things, the USS Excelsior was a experimental prototype vessel that was obviously aimed at sort of supplanting the venerable Constitution class USS Enterprise. The USS Excelsior, of course, featured way more weapons on the vessel, as well as being just overall several times larger than the Constitution class vessel. And what can you say? Starfleet poured everything into it and dubbed it the Great Experiment. But one of the most amazing features to the vessel, or at least what we were thinking was going to come through, except obviously the events of Star Trek 3 changed this, but it had an experimental warp drive in the trans warp drive. Now we can take that with a grain of salt and what that exactly meant at the time of Star Trek 3, but in sort of like fast forwarding to the TNG style sort of time frames or whatever, it seems that trans warp is obviously exceptionally faster than regular warp speed. In fact, I think Geordie LaForge on the Enterprise once said that in Next Generation on the Enterprise D mentioned that trans warp speeds were up to something like 20 times faster than their conventional warp 9 maximum warp, or 9.5, 9.8, all that kind of thing. The Excelsior, of course, was aimed to just go at speeds even faster than ever imaginable. But obviously, Scotty and the Enterprise, the former Enterprise crew and everything else had different plans for that in Star Trek 3. What can I say? The Excelsior is an awesome piece, and in the Trek universe and lineage of ships of the line, the design was solid. It went on into the TNG, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager eras, and of course was just a consummate favorite. What was kind of what I've always loved about the Excelsior was exactly that. It was just it just sort of that you can see sort of like that evolution, and as many can sort of point out, you got even these nice sort of long nacelles. It kind of improved, I would say, a bit on the sort of Constitution class designs. And if you're into the sort of battles of Starship battles and things like that, we can see that you got unlike the Constitution class vessel, you got sort of a more lowered profile on the saucer and the neck section. Warp engines, warp nacelles have been lowered just to just have a little bit less of that big, huge, massive pylon, which could, and again, if you're a savvy Klingon or Romulan at this era, you could take out those support pylons in theory, you'd think, and, there goes your warp engine, warp nacelle. So, they improved on some of those designs. The navigational deflector seems to be, more recessed into the body, into the hull. So you got some definite sort of improvements on the design of good old Constitution class vessel. And what can I say? It's an awesome piece. The piece in the universe had excellent survivability. Again, like I said, it went up into the next generation timeline, and you know, the ship just kept kind of getting upgraded, like the Excelsior class vessels. And of course but of course this collection, because Playmates did an Enterprise B, which was of course the Excelsior, like an Excelsior class vessel. But one thing that they didn't sort of carry over on the original sort of hull design on in this Playmates line, they just kind of, you could say they almost just took the same sort of mold as the Enterprise B and applied it to the Excelsior. Or maybe it was the Excelsior, this vessel that came out before the Enterprise B, which was of course aimed at the Generations, Star Trek Generations movie in that opener scene. But as you can see, the original Excelsior didn't quite have, like, you know, like this is like the sort of extended secondary hull, which obviously in the first Excelsior was a bit smooth lined, or a little bit, you know, it didn't have this extra bit of hull. Sometimes it's been a hit and miss with people that like the sort of expanded Excelsior class versus just its straight up original design. But what can I say? Speaking more specifically though about the toy, it has light and sound, of course. It has the phasers, I believe, and warning signal and tractor beam. So essentially similar light and sound as the Enterprise B. The Enterprise B, of course, has a little bit more, like a little bit different sort of paint app. It has more of sort of like, I think, a lighter blue or something. But awesome piece. I've always loved these Star Trek Playmates ships, and I know although Diamond Collectibles and other guys have sort of upstaged these designs and come out with like really super detailed ones, and they look absolutely fantastic. It would be great to get a few of them. But you know, for those that are stickler for classic, where all these toys came from, here we go. The USS Excelsior, do us proud, Captain Sulu. Here we go. The USS Excelsior. General out.